Good morning, students. Today we are going to study the first poem in English, He Did It. This poem is written by Mary Bright Miller. It's a poem about a young man who accepts the challenges of the sea and trying to conquer the sea. Let's take our textbook and follow the poem. I'll read the poem for you. Please take your textbook and follow the poem. Said the dangerous sea, "You will not conquer me. Try as hard as you can. You are not a whale. You are not a shark. You cannot walk on the waves, young man." So he made a boat that was able to float. "Ho, ho," said his foe. "It floats all right, and it's watertight, but you can't make it to go." "Oh, yes, I can," replied the young man. And he made some oars and learned how to row. When the sea saw the boats and the oars and all the rowers, he said, "Young man, they make a fine show, but what will you do when they venture out, where the deep sea swells can take them up and toss them about like cockshells?" "You can't stump me," said the bright young man, and cut down a tree and made a tall mast and rigged it with sails to catch the high winds and weather the gales. When the ship set out with their sails unfurled to cross the Atlantic and discover the world, the sea looked them over from stern to stern, and when he saw with considerable awe that Columbus himself was one of them, he said with a show of humility, "I admit, young man, you have conquered me." Children, this poem is about the conversation between a young man and the sea. The sea said to the young man, "You will not conquer me. Try as hard as you can." The sea is telling to the young man that you will not be able to defeat me. Try if you can. You are not a whale. Whale is a fish. And you are not a shark. You cannot walk on the waves, young man. The sea challenged the young man, telling that you are not a whale, you are not a shark, or you are not able to walk on the water, so you cannot conquer me. So he made a boat. What did the man do? The young man made a boat that was able to float on the water. "Ho, ho," said his foe. Who is foe? Foe is enemy, and here the enemy of man is sea. Okay, so the sea is telling to the young man, "It floats all right, and it's watertight, but you can't make it to go." The sea is telling to the young man, "You made the boat, but how will you move in the water?" "Oh, yes, I can," the young man is telling to the sea. "I can," replied the young man. And he made some oars and learned how to row. The young man made the row, the big long stick that they used to row the boat. The young man made it and learned how to row in the sea. When the sea saw the boats and the oars and all the rowers, he said, "Young man, they make a fine show, but what will you do when they venture out?" The sea is asking to the young man, "Young man, very good that you made the boats and the oars and the rowers. Everything is fine. But what will you do when they go out in the water, when the deep sea swells can take them up and toss them about like cockshells?" Children, here the sea is telling, when you put something like a ball in the water, it float on the water. In the same way, the sea is telling to the young man that your boat will be floating in the sea when the heavy waves comes, what will you do? The sea is asking to the young man. You cannot stop me, said the bright young man. The young man said to the sea that you cannot put me down. And what did he do? He went and cut a tree and made a tall mast. Tall mast means a post, okay? Tall post he made and rigged it with the sails, and the tall mast he tied the cloth and made the sail to catch the high winds and weather the gales. To control the wind, he made the sails. When the ship set out with their sails unfurled, once the ship started to move, the sails unfurled. Unfurled means opened up, to spread out, to cross the Atlantic and discover the world. The ship is moving to cross the Atlantic Ocean and to discover the world, to find out what is in the world. The sea looked them over. Now the sea felt proud of the young man and just looked at him from stern to stern. And when he saw with considerable awe that Columbus himself was one of them, the sea stared means severely, very strongly looked at the young man. Considerable significant wonder. Considerable means significant, something important. Means wonder. The sea was looking at the young man with wonder, and the sea found that Columbus himself was one of them. Columbus is the one who found out America, and he was a very clever man, so he also is one of them. He said with a show of humility. Who said? The sea, with the humility, said to the young man, I admit, young man, you have conquered me. The sea told to the young man, I admit, I admire, I appreciate that you have conquered me, you defeated me, you achieved your goal. Who said? The sea said to the young man, and the young man was so happy.